so crisp.
We're here to celebrate Selena Gomez tonight because of this really thoughtful and courageous and quite frankly brilliant documentary film. And we're going to do it here at the historic Apple Tower Theater, downtown Los Angeles. And we're going to do it with you, the fans, and we're going to do it with Selena. Please welcome Selena Gomez.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Love you.
It's a different kind of applause, I think. It feels different.
I do.
Don't you
No,
think?
it's because I feel like people have seen my diary, so I'm like,
It's
oh,
almost
God.
supportive. It's like, we love you. It's great to see you. This is cool. What a great location for us to be able to hang out and
Thank you
talk.
guys for being here.
Yeah.
This is so great. It's beautiful. I love you.
I wanted to start by just simply asking the most obvious human question we should always start any conversation with, which is, how are you?
I don't know, actually. It's been weird. The documentary exists, and it's out, and it's been 6 years in the making, and I have moments where I'm relieved, and then moments where I can't believe it's out. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think I'll always have this internal struggle of just figuring out if I'm doing the right thing, and
Yeah.
it's been really validating so far that this is something good, and that means the world to me. So.
Well, I know that you haven't been actively reading the critical reviews, and why would you? I mean, how do you read a review of your life? Yeah. Strange. But the reviews are in, right?
Thanks.
Yeah. And rightfully so. This film is just brilliant, and we're gonna get into it. But I sort of made you a promise a week ago when we spoke that we'd try and have fun.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's probably a desire from people who've seen the documentary to ask a lot of questions about what you went through, and I can imagine that's the reason you made the documentary. Right. To not have to answer those questions over and over again.
Essentially, yeah.
Essentially, yeah. But it does lead me to the question, which is, why did you make this documentary from your perspective?
I think originally I thought I was going to make a traditional tour documentary about my music and about the revival tour. And as I recognized my mental state at that time, I look back at that girl and I don't even recognize her anymore. It broke my heart to see myself talking about my body and how it needed to look a certain way, and I just felt really bad. And I had to cancel that tour. That was the first tour I had to cancel.
After 55 shows, though, I mean,
Yes.
you really put the time in already. That's most people, just for the record, that's most people's full world tour.
Yeah.
55 shows.
We were in the middle.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it was really hard because I never, ever want to let anyone down, and I always want to show up for people, but I knew that I couldn't keep going, so I had to stop. Then I picked it back up again, and we started to film my trip to Kenya, and we thought maybe we could just do a quick little short on this adventure that we're going on and this experience. Then I had to go straight to London and Paris, and I quickly realized that all of this stuff that was going on in my life, it all started with me. It all started with, how am I feeling? How am I navigating through all of these different things that are going on in my life? How am I surviving? And ultimately, we realized that it's going to be a story about my mental health journey. It's not going to be necessarily a puff piece. It's going to show every part of me, and that's the good, the bad, the ugly, and the real.
You know, I think great documentaries aren't so much reactive. I think a lot of them can be that way. They react on periods of life, try to retell that story in an entertaining way. It's great to watch. But great documentary films are proactive. And when I watch them, I feel like the subject is actually learning about themselves and going on a journey and the documentary is guiding that process almost more than you are guiding the documentary. Did it feel that way, that without the doc, you may not have actually have pushed forward in the way that you did?
I think so. I would like to believe that Alec and I had a relationship where, even in the weakest moments where I had a lupus flare up and it was really painful, he even asked me a few times, am I comfortable being recorded? And I thought, well, I want to be able to show people all of it. So just go ahead. And that's weird to say, but it also felt like a big relief, because I know that I'm not the only one that's hurting that way. And it should be talked about and it should be seen.
But what about when you saw it? It's one thing to be living it and experiencing it. You have this trust with the camera already in life to some degree. You understand its role. But then you look back on that footage, edited or otherwise, it's got to be tough for you. It's tough for me. It's tough for us.
Yeah. I have only actually seen it all the way through one time. I can't. I don't think I could watch it again.
And did you do that? So did you watch that basically almost for approval? Like, I can let this go now.
Yeah, I was there for the parts of editing, so I could see transitions and I knew how the story was going to be told. And then when it was all kind of put together, it was really hard. It actually affected me for a couple of days afterwards. And I realized that that's just not where I am anymore, so I don't need to revisit.
It's a beautiful realization, that as well, though, to realize you've come so far. I know what you mean when you feel sad when you recognize somebody who is yourself going through so much pain. It's a reflection of the work that you've done since then, but it is kind of bittersweet because you do feel for that person. It's like you have a relationship with yourself. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
It is a little weird to be learning, and by all means, I don't have life figured out in any way, shape, or form. I just have a better relationship with my mind, with my mental health.
None of us will.
No.
That's the point.
No, but I do genuinely hope to start a relationship with my mind and my mental health that I will continue to grow and I will continue to understand more and more.
Alec was the director. Who was behind the camera? Who did you have to forget that was there?
There were actually multiple people. We kind of picked up and stopped filming, started shooting. People were shooting other things, and then so there's actually a list of names that I would have to give you.
That's a huge amount of trust that you have to put in. It's interesting. The age of 7. That is just very unique, and I sort of wonder over the course of your life how you recognize that relationship with you and a camera, something that captures you.
Well, I think it's different because I started as an actress first, and I think having a relationship with the camera and having it be invisible is just naturally a part of it. I love being on sets. I love doing shows and film. I kind of thrive in that setting. And you actually want the camera to fall in love with the character you're creating. So I love that. Then the flip side is I'm walking out of a hospital and there's 12 photographers screaming and wanting a bad angle, bad picture to, say I'm not doing well or I'm in rehab, and then you're just hit with that kind of awareness of cameras, and that just can throw you off completely, and it obviously became really unhealthy. So I've had to have different relationships with how it works. Even in music videos, it's different than being on a set. I probably prefer being on a set.
Of course. That's a big part of why you did this as well, isn't it? Because of that false narrative that you've had to exist with throughout your life. This idea that you live multiple lives. There's the reality of who you are in any given moment, and then there's what all of us see based on what somebody captures and then the story they choose to tell. Right. I mean, that is not reality. That's not your narrative. This film is. Yes. Was that a motivation for doing this in order for people to see it once and for all? A
part of it. Somebody asked me yesterday, they said, well, do you think you have now shared so much that people are going to want more? And then I kind of sat there and I was like, what's more?
That's loaded.
I was like, wow. I think I've said it all. I'm like, what else could I say
that's
possibly
tough.
At this point in time? This
that's
is
a
where
setup.
I am.
You don't. Nope.
No, but I totally appreciated that question. It's the ending of this movie is me right here. It's me now.
Yeah. I want to talk about tools and where it began and how what you've developed over the course of your life to work on yourself and have that better sense of self-awareness and self-love. There's an interesting scene in the film where you describe being terrified of thunderstorms as a kid.
When I first got out, I didn't know how I'd cope with my diagnosis. What if it happened again? What if the next time I didn't come back? I needed to keep learning about it. I needed to take it day by day. When I was a kid, I was terrified of thunderstorms. I grew up in Texas, and I was so scared that lightning and thunder would mean a tornado was coming. But my mom gave me these books for kids that explained storms and lightning and thunder, and basically said the more you learn about it, the less you're gonna be afraid of it. And it really helped.
That sort of feels to me like the beginning of self-help in a way. Do you trace it back to then?
Yeah, I 1000% would have to give my mom credit for that. I felt scared of so many things in life, and I think it's because I grew up anxious. I felt like I needed to perform and I needed to be the best I possibly could be, and my mom was always that person that allowed me to be exactly who I wanted to be and didn't judge me for any of it and loved me through it, and also would give me the information and the tools to grow. Instead of instilling more fear in me, she continued to educate me on the things that I was terrified of, and she would give me that strength.
It's what you do with the strength, isn't it? It's how you apply it to your life and what you absorb that works for you. What works for you? You know, I love yoga. There are certain things I know that if I don't do them...
I'm not good at yoga, that's for damn sure.
I didn't say I was good at it, but it definitely works for me. It's good for my mind. What works for you?
It's little things, you know? I mean, I just had COVID, and I was like, here it comes. I'm going to get a little depressed. I'm going to go down a spiral. And I immediately recognized the little things I needed to do to get myself out of it. So I decided I needed to change the things I was watching. So I decided to watch things that were really well written and beautiful and happy. I changed the music I was listening to. I wanted to listen to positive things. I wanted to feel like I could be inspired. It's something like taking a walk. It's something like calling a therapist. If you have a sponsor, calling a sponsor. It's all these little things that seem so minuscule and like, oh, that won't work, that doesn't matter. It actually ultimately does. It's by doing that every day, and even just getting up and looking at yourself and being okay with who that person is on the other side.
I love that you mentioned, obviously, music. And what's on your positive playlist?
Oh my God, Taylor's new album right now. All of it.
Yeah, it's flawless. Actually
just
flawless.
That right now?
Actually flawless. No, it is. It's a remarkable body of work.
Yeah.
But do you also allow yourself to let music keep you company when you're sad?
1000%.
Yeah, me
I
too.
mean, I feel like that essentially I was raised in a world where our emotions were illustrated by music. My mom grew up listening to, Patsy Cline and Joni Mitchell and Janis Joplin, and then my dad grew up listening to all the Tejano music that I grew up with, like Selena Quintanilla, who I was named after, and he just kind of had a flair for R&B, and I was really inundated with so much, so many different styles of music that it was a part of my life. I mean, I was 11 years old listening to Coldplay or Maroon 5, pretending I had been in love and I was in a breakup in the car, I would pretend I'd felt these emotions that people were talking
but you
about.
weren't pretending. That's the beauty of it.
Oh, I was for sure
crying,
pretend crying.
Let me tell you why I think. Because when you feel that so vividly as a kid, and we all feel that when we love something, right? We feel it. And then if you stay feeling that, whenever, 10, 12 years later, you find yourself doing what with who? Singing a song with Chris Martin.
Yeah, I didn't actually put that together, but yes.
You only get there if you feel it. So
That's true.
There's no pretending going on there.
That's true.
There's some incredibly poignant moments when you go home. We've seen this in documentary films before. People go home. We all go home. It's great. But it was different in this film for me. I really felt like you were not just going back to show home and reflect on what it meant to you. You were searching for purpose there. What was that experience like, visiting the neighbors, visiting the friends? There's one scene in particular where you catch up with someone who went to school with you and her daughter's there, and it feels so full circle. It's crazy.
Do you know who this is? It's Selena Gomez.
My name is Seleena.
The one that you hear the songs of? Yeah. She's my dramatic one.
Well, that was me. Aw.
Come here, but no.
Yeah, you're the alpha male.
Yes, she's real. Mommy went to school with her. She lives right down the street from me. Mommy grew up with
I
her.
have a hug?
Does that make you happy? Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was good seeing
It was
you.
so good to see
I'm
you
glad
too.
everything's good with you and
Yeah.
went better. Trust me, it was real scary at that point because I grew up with you. I knew it. So to see you go through that was hard.
Yeah. Thank you. I do feel better.
Oh, we love y'all.
Okay, bye.
Say bye. Say thank you.
Well, every time I go home, I usually drive by my old neighborhood just because it feels so good. It kind of reminds me. So every time I'm home, I actually love going to visit people. But that time I went in and invaded people's personal space, and it was wonderful. It was retracing the steps that got me to where I am, whether I was a little like disrupting the neighbors or I was with one of my best friends that I grew up with, and watching her have children now and have a totally different life, and
really-
to think I could have that life as well was a moment too that I thought, and I'm nowhere near that, and it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It can be a good thing as well.
It was just so touching at the end. You had given her daughter this moment, and then she gave you this understanding of like genuine love and concern from someone who knew you long, long ago. And it was such a lovely human moment. It was like the trade gone right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. When she looked at me and said she was worried and she was really happy that I was doing well, I remember thinking, like, she means that. Because I know she knows who I am. And it doesn't matter that I've become whatever. I'm still Selena.
You know, throughout this whole thing, we see this kind of strive for a different purpose. You found purpose as a young child, and it was successful. But success isn't purpose. It's a byproduct of work and commitment and connection. Purpose is something different. When, during the making of the documentary, aka your life, did you realize that you were getting somewhere toward a new purpose in life? This idea of going beyond fame and beyond attention and reaching for something more substantial than that.
Perhaps it's when I was having breakdowns, when I couldn't hide them, when whether the camera was there or not, I couldn't get out of my own head. And when I realized those moments kept stopping me from creating, a great tour, creating a good year, creating a good attitude, it was affecting me. And I knew that we were capturing these moments, and then I went to Kenya and I figured out, like, wait a minute, is this reality? This is real? This is what people are walking through. It's so much bigger than what we are worried about sometimes. And I think there were multiple moments. There wasn't just one where I thought, this is going to be bigger than just me.
Yeah, I mean, it begins a really fascinating journey in life when you realize that you want to go and alter your purpose, and there's people around you, and it could be just family and friends who don't understand what that means. There's a scene in the documentary where it's a part of an interview, just part of a promo cycle. And to be fair, those happen all the time. Yeah. Like 10 interviews a day, knock it out, get it done, it's content. But you're ready to announce this, even in a small way. Like, I want to do something bigger, and it just doesn't land. And it's like, wow, this is going to be a longer journey. I just looked at your face and I thought, you realize in that moment, this is not just a quote.
I was so annoyed.
You're not going to get away with this with a quote. It's going to have to require a lot of time, right?
Exactly.
This is where we celebrate Selena for a different reason. For the work that you've been doing and really going out there and walking the walk, The Rare Impact Fund Wondermind. These mean something to you now, just like your art did and your fans do. Can you talk about how fulfilling it's been working in this space?
It actually feels wonderful. I think it started, honestly, when I was 14, and I had a mom come up to me, and she was a single mom with 4 kids, and, you know, they were from Mexico, and they actually were from a town close to mine, where my family's from. And she said, "Thank you for just being who you are, because my kids can look at someone on TV and they look like you, and that is something they can aspire to be or do." And I didn't understand it, because to me, I just thought, well, I am who I am. But when I recognized the responsibility that I had been given with my platform, I truly felt like it was bigger than me. Most of the time when I would go through dark moments, I would get back up like over and over and over again because of people like you. It was hard for me to get myself up for me, but I knew if I didn't and I stayed swallowed in a pit of pain, I would be letting all of you down, and I couldn't live with that. I could not do that. And then I had to learn how to do it for myself. And that means I had to let people down and say, okay, I can't tour anymore. I can't release music right now. I'm physically just not able to. And now I can have a good balance of being the best version of myself for me, which also means I can be the best version for other people.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's not doing it for anyone else. It's helping others do for themselves.
Hopefully.
You know, that's what I'm taking from the next chapter of your life at the end of this film. You know, it ends with you going to the White House. It ends with you making a commitment to this conversation. When we met for the first time, I realize now, looking at the timeline of the documentary, that you were really in it. Like, you were in it.
Yeah.
And I could see that, I think. I felt that, and I think that's reflected, and you can see it that's reflected in the kind of conversation we had.
Yeah.
But both of us landed on a subject that we're both passionate about, which is increasing awareness around mental health and the need for self-awareness, self-help.
Yeah.
We're seeing changes, and you've been instrumental in helping make those changes happen. I want to give you a round of applause for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you've started to do the groundwork. How's your experience been there, and where are we going? Is it going in the right direction? Do you feel like it's working? Are we helping?
I want to say yes, because I'm going to always be hopeful. I think making those moments happen for yourself are really important. I don't mind being the person that is a voice for mental health, because it's my life and it's a part of who I am. And I want people to start becoming more and more comfortable with that conversation. And I want it to stop being this label that terrifies people, or people don't believe in it, or think that it's not a real thing. If I would have released this documentary before the pandemic, maybe people would have thought I was crazy. I had people who watched the documentary and said, had it come out before, I don't think I could have related to certain things. So it was really interesting to hear people reacting to this movie and actually saying, oh, I didn't know I had that, but I did struggle with that as well.
What kind of, how has it affected your relationship with your art? As an artist, it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone here that your most successful song is also probably one of your most honest.
Yes.
And I think that that's a genuine reflection of truth being expressed through art. So now that you are really in a place where you understand your truth better than ever and have courage to share it, we're waiting for that album of your career.
I know. It's...
I'm sorry.
No pressure or
well,
anything.
no, you set the bar, not me. I'm just acknowledging it.
No, it's been, if I'm being completely honest, which I have been, it's been really difficult. I'm really used to going into a setting with the same people in my circle and just banging out music. To be honest, I'm now telling stories that people don't know. People I've dated that people don't know. Experiences I've had that people don't know. I created this whole private life that was just mine, and I feel like now I have to tell these stories and people are going to ask a lot of
Can I
questions.
just put it in perspective? Otherwise, we're never getting another album. So let me try and save this. Can I say? You didn't have a choice before, I don't think. I think that
No.
everyone decided this was who you were and the stories you had to tell.
Correct.
Every artist on the planet gets to decide how they talk about their relationships and their emotions and their feelings that remain private until the moment they express them. Right. You've just now caught up to every other artist on the planet.
Thank God, I feel accomplished.
Do you know what I mean when I say that? You
No,
can
I
do
do.
it your way now.
Exactly. I feel like I've earned it. And I just don't want to release anything that's not perfect. And it's getting there, is all I can say. It's getting there.
Awesome. We have fan questions.
Yes, my favorite.
By the way, my favorite. My favorite.
No
my
offense, but
No, seriously, my favorite. Like, if I could spend the next half of my life just asking fan questions, I'd be really happy. All right, here we go. How does it feel? I'm going to emphasize that word. How does it feel to be your true and vulnerable self in front of the camera?
I feel like I can relax now. I feel like now you guys know everything that I was walking through, and you didn't judge me, and you were there for me constantly, and it just made me feel normal, and I really appreciate that.
What scene in My Mind and Me are you most proud of?
It was probably when I was rehearsing for the AMAs. I wasn't ready, and I started to listen to a Lauren Daigle song, and I felt like that was me really trying to push through something that was difficult. And ultimately, it wasn't my best performance, but that moment I had rehearsing meant more to me anyway, because it was me trying to heal. It wasn't like I wrote the song and I was like, I'm over it. It's like, no, I actually am still kind of feeling it. So it's terrifying to get up and sing.
Crazy you promoted it. I mean, it was such a
Yeah.
personal release.
It really was, but it was such a gift at the end of all of it.
And by the way, go and look at any other documentary film. Do you know how many times you'll see a singer who can sing as well as Selena can leave a scene in there where she misses a note? It doesn't happen. They hit the editing floor really quick.
Yeah.
So it was great to see you do that and just leave it all on the table. What was the hardest scene for you to put in?
The hardest scene was probably the tour content in the beginning. It was really honest. It was just because I had been so inundated with comments about my body. I mean, there's a reason why I was talking about myself that way. I don't just make that up. I had been told I needed to look better, that I needed to dress cooler, that my tour was kind of lame, and I was trying to be someone I wasn't. That was happening all the time to me. And I think that's abusive. And I realized that watching that back, I'm never going to let anyone ever again make me feel that way. And I gained my strength back when I realized, actually, no, that girl wasn't lame. That girl didn't need a better body. That girl didn't need to look like this. I was meant to be exactly who I am. And once I was released from a voice that was in my life, I didn't fall. I actually rose up. And that's the best thing. Thank you.
I know there was a longer edit.
Yeah. There was a longer edit for sure.
That's not even insider talk. Every film has a longer edit.
Yeah, for sure.
Was there anything that you really wish, looking back on it now, that you had been able to get in there, or you wanted to get in there, or that maybe you may show another time, or just a scene that you really wish had gone in the dark?
Probably more content with my fans. I think because the pandemic happened, I canceled my tour. The meet and greets were my only connection to people. Me being here is such a high because I've missed this more than anything. I've missed connecting. Like, I can't wait to meet all of you and hug you. And
Yeah, I
It's
was
just-
gonna ask, not to make too fine a point of it, but is this sort of the first time in a long time you've had this experience?
Basically. So I'm so happy. It feels so good.
How does it feel to know you're changing our lives? And I love that somebody wrote that question and included everybody. And making us feel seen when it comes to mental health. And this question ends with, I love you.
Oh, well, I love you. I love all of you. I guess. Wait, what was the question? Oh, yes, no. Oh my gosh. If I am able to help one person with this, I am on cloud 9 forever. I mean, I think, people ask me what would I like to be remembered by, and of course I love what I do, so the projects and things that I'm a part of, I'm really proud of. But I hope that I'm remembered by my heart, and I'm remembered by simply wanting to see people for who they are and love them authentically, truly, and as purely as I possibly can.
In our final moment today, here in this beautiful Apple Tower Theater, downtown Los Angeles, I wanted to honor the fact that you're getting to see your fans face to face in the same room for the first time in a very long time. We all came out of a really crazy few years where this just wouldn't have been possible, and what you've been going through personally made it extra specially further away. Yeah. So I just wanted to give you a chance to just talk to your fans directly and just say something to them while they're here, and we can end like that.
Okay. Well, here's my thing. I'm going to end up talking all of your ear off when I meet you because I like that. But truly, I think me releasing this was one of the most terrifying things I've done. But I am so grateful that people like you are able to watch it, and hopefully, even if it's a friend that you know is walking through something, that you're able to be a voice for them. I can't do any of this without you guys. I know that's such a cliche, and maybe you hear it from other people as well, but at the end of the day, it's just me, my core friends, and us. And I believe that we're in this together, and I just want to continue to be the best version of myself that I can, and to love you guys fully and truly for who you are, because you do that for me. So thank you so much.
Watch the film now with your Apple TV Plus subscription on whatever device you stream on your Apple TV, MacBook, smart TVs, game consoles, PlayStation and Xbox, connected devices, Roku or Amazon Fire. Just look for the Apple TV app. And if you don't have it, go to the App Store on your device and download it.